going to do it virtual. We're going to do it virtual, the September 12th. Welcome to My Success. This show is all about what it takes to be successful. Tune in for some great conversation designed for providing you with the best information possible to help you achieve your goals and dreams. Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Kim Martin here, founder of I've Decided and host of your show today. Our show this week is called My Success. And so it's all about you and your success and what's going to help you be successful in your goals and dreams. I am super excited to have my guest with me today, Chris Russick. Hey, Chris.
Hi, Kim.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Well, thanks for this was a little bit last minute gig. So I appreciate you showing up here to talk to me this week. And we're going to be talking about all the weekly winning word, learn.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. Happy to have you. You were on the radio show with me before. You guys, that was awesome. How long ago was that?
About a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago.
Really? Oh, wow. Time flies.
During the summer.
Yeah. Because you were the major. You were running the ROTC over at Limestone.
At the time I was, yes.
Yeah. And now you're learning something new. We're going to talk about that.
Yes, I am.
Well, kind of something old that you already knew, and now you're kind of relearning.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
You're a community member of I've Decided. We really appreciate that.
Yes.
Appreciate your support.
It's been a good experience being a member.
Yeah, awesome. So, well, for those of you who are members, every week we send out a weekly winning resource. And in that weekly winning resource, we usually have a weekly winning article. And we just, sometimes we write the article ourselves. Sometimes we find great articles out there that are already written. Why reinvent the wheel? If you find something that's really good, you just kind of can share other people's articles about your word. And so this week I ran across this article on Code One Tricks. That's the website. So I want to give kudos to that website. 5 steps to learning anything new. So, when I was doing the research for the weekly winning word, learn, it just kind of dawned on me that you can learn to learn. It's something that takes action. You don't just wake up and, there's some natural things about learning, but then there's some that you have to be intentional.
Absolutely.
And you were saying before we started recording the show today that if you don't, what were you guys saying? If you fly, you either fly or die, or you're
growing or dying is what I said.
You're growing or dying. So you're either learning,
yep,
or you're going backwards.
You bet.
You're going the wrong way.
You bet.
Yeah. So I thought we'd talk about these 5 steps to learning anything new. I'm sure you can, with all of your experience, you've retired 3 times, you said?
3 times, yes.
Retired 3 times, 3 different careers.
Failed at retirement 3 times.
Well, or successfully. You keep successfully retiring, right?
I'm back at work, so
Yeah.
retirement doesn't suit me well.
Well, you said even when you retired as the major over at the ROTC program, you said you were going to do something. You just were in that transition period,
yes,
and you weren't sure exactly what that was going to be, but you
That's
found
right.
a fit. So step 1 in learning to learn is, according to codeonetricks.com, is always understand the broader view first. Now, I think of that and I think, well, what exactly does that mean? Understand the broader view. Like, how would you define that?
Well, I think what the author was getting at was that if you can find a way to relate whatever it is that you're studying or trying to learn to what you're going to need in the future or something that you're interested in, if you can see some reason why the new information fits into what you're trying to accomplish, it'll be more meaningful for you and it'll be easier for you to retain it and use it.
Right. Versus, hey, read this. Just read this.
Sure. So, for instance, something really simple. I like to cook.
Okay.
Right? And I'm working on the ultimate ranch dressing, right?
Well, I love ranch dressing, so I can be your taste tester.
Awesome. Awesome. I've decided I don't like dill. But anyway, if you've gone out and looked at recipes lately, there's a lot of stuff that's out there, and you could probably find 500 recipes.
Right.
You know, I'm experimenting with different parts of it, and sometimes I'm just getting rid of 3/4 of what, you know, maybe even more. I'm just looking at the ingredient list because I kind of know how they go together.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And so my learning is, what are the little subtle tastes that work, at least for my palate?
Right.
Right? Because my wife's palate's a little different. My son doesn't touch ranch dressing. The dog would eat anything I put in front of her. So, you know, it's there's a learning that's going on as the recipe evolves.
Right.
And, you know, it's not necessarily exactly what the person who created the recipe had intended, but it works for me because it's what I'm after.
Right.
And it means something to me.
It means something to you. So you're seeking, learning how to create the best ranch dressing ever.
Right. Right.
Are you going to bottle it and label it and sell it?
No intention of doing that. I might share it or give it away as Christmas presents or something, but I have no intention of going into the ranch dressing business.
So always try to understand the broader view, that bigger impact, right? Like what's the impact that it's going to make? Like
Right.
what are you, who is it impact? How is it impact?
Why is it important to you?
Why is it important to you?
Why do I need this? Why do I want this?
Yeah.
And the stronger your why and the more robust it is across different aspects of what you're trying to accomplish, the easier it's going to be for you to learn. Because it's going to be, you know, sometimes learning is really hard. It's not always really easy.
Right.
And sometimes anybody who's ever taken calculus will recognize that.
I don't think I did.
That
I graduated from a high school in Alabama. I'm not quite sure calculus is even on.
but it's not easy stuff.
Right. No.
You know, and other than my sister who's a math professor, I can't think of anybody that took calculus because they wanted to take calculus. It was always they were taking calculus to do something else with it.
Right. There's a reason to take calculus.
Yes.
You got so like you're going to be a statistician or a doctor or something that's going to require you to take those kind of difficult classes.
And when it gets hard, you got to reach inside and go, okay, oh, that's right. That's why I want to do this. I want to be an engineer.
Right.
I can't get there without first mastering
Calculus.
this. Yes.
Which is why I'm not an engineer or a doctor or any of those things. But true, that's a great point. The second step to learning something new, and this one I'm pretty good at, is ask questions. You know, one of my pet peeves when it comes to learning something new is when people just take someone's word. You know, it's like somebody says, hey, do this. And you just do it because from an emotional, you're just emotionally wrapped up in it and you really haven't asked the questions, done your homework, and we don't really even know what we're doing. We're just maybe, you know, it's like my grandma used to say, if somebody jumps off the bridge, if everybody jumps off the bridge, you're going to jump off too. Right? Just because everybody's doing it doesn't make it a good idea. So we got to ask questions.
Yes. Yes.
And so you're a military guy.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this.
So when you got a sergeant yelling in your face saying, don't say a word, how are you supposed to ask questions? So like, how do you?
Depends on the context. You know, that when the sergeant's got you in basic training and they're trying to teach you how to respond and how to react, part of the response and reaction process is to not respond and react, but to revert to training. Okay? Not just go with your natural instinct to shout back, but what is it that we're trying to understand? How are we going to get there? Mm-hmm. You know? And so, you know, the basic training environment or a lot of the military schools are fairly intense because what they're trying to prepare you for is you being able to do the actions you're supposed to do when somebody's trying to kill you, which is a little bit more consequential than what we most of us run into on a daily basis. But it's to give you the ability to slow things down, recognize the correct response, and then take it. So when we're asking you questions, that's not necessarily the time to ask the questions. Now, and I think one of the things a lot of people don't understand about life, and it comes with learning later on, there's moral rights and moral wrongs that when people don't ask questions and they just do whatever they're told to do, sometimes they end up following things for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Or reacting because, well, you know, this is the way you react.
Or they're following something because it sounds like it's the right thing to do, based on how it may be described. But once you start digging in and understand what's going on, you start to go, wait, I don't necessarily agree with that. Or, wait, what are they? So it's like, it all sounds good until you start doing the research and asking the questions and finding out more.
Right. And so if you look at, and this is dating myself. I wasn't there in Vietnam. I was too young for that. But, the My Lai massacre and Lieutenant William Calley, and the reason he got prosecuted, but the guys who did the shooting didn't, was he was the guy they were supposed to ask, and he was the one that was supposed to make sure that the orders that he gave were legal and lawful.
Okay.
And in the heat of the moment, he didn't take that pause between the stimulus and response. He didn't learn the lessons that they had tried to teach him in officer training school.
Okay.
And he crumbled under pressure and fell to his fight or flight response, and people got massacred and he got punished for it.
Wow. Yeah. I can see that in a lot of, I'm not trying to label military guys or nothing, so sorry if it sounds like I'm labeling you. I don't mean to, but you do see that, I think, in a lot of guys and women and men who've served in the military, who have that pause. I see it in you, Chris, whenever we serve on a committee together and when people are talking and I'm very I'm a little on the reactive side. So somebody says something, I'm immediately, asking questions, reacting, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but sometimes you need to hold back and it's not the time to react, right? And it can be a bad thing if you react too quickly, you don't even, it's emotion, right?
Right.
But I see that in you. You're like, you always pause and hesitate and wait, and I can see your wheels turning. You're thinking it through before you speak.
Do you see the smoke coming out of your stew?
Sometimes. Sometimes. And I want to be more like that. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing. When you're doing interviews and the things that I do, it's a good thing to be curious and questionable and reactive, right? But
Right.
when it's something that's very serious and something that needs to take a little more time, maybe you're having a debate or a constructive conversation with someone, and it needs to be well thought out. It can't be reactive and emotional.
Right. And in a business context, you're not just reacting to everything.
Right.
You've got a plan.
Yes.
You've got goals that you're trying to accomplish, and you got to take into account that bigger picture. So bringing back that first point, and the learning you may be doing to accomplish that goal, to get to those plans, aren't always going to be dependent upon what your first gut reaction was.
That's so true. Let's see. Did we get to? No. Yeah. Categorize and organize. So when you're wanting to learn, you need to categorize. You need to organize. So I see that as really that time to start saying, what are the pros in learning? What are the pros? If I'm learning something, what are the pros in this information? What are the cons in this information? Is it the truth? Is it factual? Is it?
Right. And almost any time you pick something up, whether it be an article that was written, whether it be a book or, think a textbook, none of that was written specifically for you. And so oftentimes you're looking at it and you're kind of weighing, okay, what in here fits what I'm trying to get out of it?
Right.
Where is this? What's my need? I may have a textbook that's this thick on Graham and Dodd, and there might be, 100 pages of it that are relevant to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Understanding why these investments are being made, not necessarily so I can go into the history of the 1940s and 50s stock market and know,
Yeah.
I don't need to know all that. I just need to understand the basic concepts and what they're trying to accomplish. That whole book is going to be interesting, but not necessarily all valuable. Is that?
No, that's perfect. And I was sitting here thinking about your 3 retirements, and now you're kind of back where you started. Is that true? Well, you started
Sort of.
in the military.
So I've got a really convoluted career path. So my first retirement was from the military, and people say, military, you must have killed people with your bare hands. And no, actually, I was an accountant for the Air Force.
Okay, wow.
So
All right.
my undergraduate background and my graduate schooling was in management and accounting.
Okay.
And so everybody's heard about the $300 toilet seat and the $3,000 ashtray. And I could explain to you how they got there because I could show you how the numbers made that happen.
Right.
I'm not going to try to defend why. Oftentimes it's because somebody said you got to do this and this and this and this, and you say, but it's an ashtray.
But they don't care what you think. They're
Can I
like,
just
"Get
rip
it."
the top off a Coke can and use the bottom of it and save ourselves a lot of money?
Right.
So I did that first, and then when I retired from the Air Force, I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial, and I became a financial advisor, which was also accounting and finance related.
Yeah, that's your background.
The teaching thing was kind of a wild hair, but I come from a long line of teachers. About 5 of my siblings are teachers, or were teachers at some point in their life.
Okay.
And I tell people that God told me I needed to go teach.
So you do what God tells you to do.
I
At
try.
least that's my experience. If God says do it, you better do it.
I try.
Yeah.
And then now what I'm going to do again is go back and become a financial advisor again. So I have to get relicensed. So I have to learn.
You have to relearn.
I have to relearn, and the brain isn't quite as elastic when you're 60 as it was, when I was in my late 30s when I did this the first time. And so I can't remember the stuff as well, but I have so much more context. I have so much more organization
Right.
of that information that when I see something that fits into one of those drawers and it fits into one of those categories, and I got a lot of information around it, that now it makes more sense.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I just love that too. I mean, like what you just said, obviously 60 is young, but you're never too old to learn, and you look at, you're setting such a great example for maybe someone who's just retired from a job that's saying, you know what, I'm not ready to just sit and do nothing. I'm not quite, maybe their wife or husband isn't retired yet, so they're not quite ready to move to their retirement home. And, there's more time left for you to do something. And you find, learn something new or go back to something that you loved in the past and redefine it and do something cool. So I love that you're doing that, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any way we can support you through I've Decided, we want to do that. So you
Awesome.
make sure you let us know. All right, so we got a couple more steps here we want to get through. We got 2 minutes. So use your resources, which is kind of what we were just talking about, just connecting. And you said you have tons of resources now.
Right. Don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Right.
It's, and especially with the internet these days, Google is a wonderful asset to do, to research almost anything.
Right.
There's somebody that has done what you've tried to do.
That's right.
Whether it's to come up with the ultimate investment formula or make the
best
perfect
ranch.
ranch dressing. Somebody else has done this already, and you can take what they've done and use that.
Yeah, take some of their ideas, give them credit, give the people credit where you learn from, and that they appreciate that, and that's good. They always say one of the best compliments you can get is when someone wants to do what you're doing, right? So you shouldn't be concerned that they're taking your stuff or doing what you're doing. You should support them and help them. It's a great compliment, and we all have a purpose, and
Right.
it's not going to change anything.
Right.
So that's awesome. All right. So use your resources. There's tons of resources out there. We're all about the resources that I've decided. And then use your strengths and not your weaknesses. You said something before we started. I don't know if you remember, but I thought it was very cool. You talked about how you guys in the military, you try to you drown out the weaknesses by.
Well, it actually came from a management professor, a guy named Warren Bennis, who's an expert on leadership, and he said that great leaders use their people's strengths and make their weaknesses irrelevant.
That's it.
And
yes. Use the strength. You focus on those strengths so that you expand on those strengths so greatly that your weakness becomes irrelevant.
Absolutely.
And yes, we have weaknesses and we can try to work on those, but we don't focus on those.
Correct.
So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was awesome. How fast did that go, right?
Really quick.
So thank you, everybody, for tuning in today to our show, My Success. We're on the third Tuesday of every month. We hope you tune in. We have shows every Tuesday through our I've Decided media program. And if you haven't signed up for our community yet, we'd love to have you. This is your invite to join us. You can hop over to ivedecided.org. It takes just a couple minutes to join our community. and get on your way to achieving your goals and dreams, whatever they may be. And Chris, I really appreciate you on a whim coming in and being with me today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Great. And we appreciate Widecast Studio for hosting the show for us. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in and for being a part of our community. So enjoy the rest of your sunny Tuesday, and we'll see you soon. Awesome. Welcome to My Success. This show is all about what it takes to be successful. Tune in for some great conversation designed for providing you with the best information possible to help you achieve your goals and dreams.